blockchain and crypto is kind of a bigger thing with the Bitcoin halving that just happened recently in April. And yeah, there's been some, dabbling that I've done, but I've seen a lot of AI coin. One of them that's really popular is called Render. They're almost like an Airbnb for the CPUs or GPUs. So you can basically kind of like rent out the certain GPUs. So it's a pretty good business model. But I'm just wondering, because I know there are other, I think there's like Ocean and some other coins that basically help management of that. So
what I want to try and do, at least on this side of things, is, there's been discussions before around that. Really, security comes down to, where are my models being stored? Who has access to them? If I'm using OpenAI, is my data being sent up to OpenAI? So those are kind of like the common questions coming out right now, and there's all ways that, those can be answered. But I looked into this a bit, and there's a few very specific AI kind of gotchas in a way that are interesting to think about, because it's a space in itself. So what I've seen, again, just going back, a lot of the security questions that I've seen come up are kind of standard IT questions in a way. It's not a new space. It's like, who has access to this? Where are we storing the endpoints to access this? And these are all kind of, whether it's a model or a database, it's the same sort of thing. Where's your data going? Do you have access to data? Are you sure you're okay giving that third party your data? What are their terms of how they manage that? These are common things been around in IT for years. But I've got a few here which are kind of specific to AI, and I thought they're pretty interesting. So I'll read out the description of what each of these are. And so the first one around security is something called adversarial attacks. What it says is that AI models can be tricked by adversarial examples. So input data that has been intentionally designed to cause a model to make a mistake. For instance, you could ask the model questions, but manipulate it to actually answer incorrectly, or to make mistakes, or to give incorrect answers, which then, as a malicious user, you could then use as, sort of ways of trying to get around certain systems, or state that the information that you received from that company was incorrect, and say it affected your business itself or something like that. Yeah.
Is that the same as jailbreaking, in terms of trying to get around the prompts?
It is. It's very similar, right? That's exactly what happened to that car manufacturer, right? So someone got around it, made it do things it wasn't meant to do. In that case, they were just sort of messing around with it. But I think someone else played with it and actually convinced it was an entirely different car company. And they were booking in their car for a service, which was like, a Honda dealership, but their car was like a Tesla. And so it was like, sure, we'll take in your Tesla. We service Teslas all day. And so, just completely confusing the AI and sort of, and if the bigger problem with that is that if that's integrating with your backend systems, especially, then it might be feeding data into your backend systems, which is totally corrupt, misaligned, or, creating, maybe cheap entries for something that could have cost a lot. So it's an interesting one to think about. And that's very specific to AI models and how they understand what you as a user want.
Yeah, especially around somebody's trying to hack into a system. I'm curious of how I guess viral something like that can take, because obviously you have your local or your agents or whatever that's current for your business. Does that somehow get back to, let's say, OpenAI, where somebody's sitting there and training this AI who has malicious intent to say, oh, when somebody's doing this to hack into or go into our system, just ignore it. It's a false positive or whatever. Yeah. Does that train a larger language model into that somehow, or does it just stay within the agent, or does it just depend?
Yeah, there's loads of strategies around that defense against that. I think the biggest ones are adversarial training, which is really, as you were just mentioning there, sort of training the model to understand what looks like malicious inputs, and either not processing them or just blocking them entirely. Or you could have layers before you even reach your model that sort of goes through those inputs, what people are asking it, even goes out to a separate model and maybe determines the intent of that, and if it looks like it's matching up with sort of malicious training that it's seen in the past. It's all just about making sure that what goes into your model you've taken a good look at, you're not just letting anyone do whatever they want or send through anything that they want.
I know we've looked at a few of those Microsoft services that, as you're saying, Joe, act as layers to basically, even before you're interacting with the model, to say, all right, does this have bias? Does this have prejudice? Does it have malicious code? If it is, okay, it's stopping right there before it's even getting to the model, and then even coming back from the model and saying, all right, is this answer meeting all the the specific criteria from a safety and ethical standpoint? which is
Yeah.
interesting.